Welcome everybody to the A.I.P. Anything is Possible podcast, where we'll talk about anything and everything your heart's desire. You go through the catalog, there's all sorts of topics. Tonight, we are talking about Operation Highjump. If you're not familiar with it, it is what Operation Highjump is where Admiral Byrd, Richard E. Byrd, took a slew of ships, 13 to be exact, 23 aircraft, and 4,700 men on an expedition down to Antarctica. Supposedly, the primary objectives were to establish the Antarctic Research Base, Little America 4, to train personnel and test equipment in frigid conditions, and to enhance existing maps of Antarctica continent. They did take over 70,000. Let's see. Skip ahead from my picture. They took over 70,000 aerial photographs, which were later used for creating maps. They discovered previous unknown geological features, including the oasis as ice-free areas. Also, one area had the warm water, and very interesting. As I said, this is one of the largest ever to Antarctica, with military and scientific goals. Courses during the early Cold War, so and of course there was rumors that the Germans had set up a base down there too, but we'll get into that. What they'll get into the facts of what they'll tell us right now, and then we'll dig into the conspiracy side of things. Of course, we gotta do the conspiracy side of things. Y'all would be upset of me if I didn't. The key figures, we had Admiral Richard E. Byrd, also had Rear Admiral Richard H. Cruzen. He was a task force commander. His ships were the USS Mount Olympus. It was a command ship. You had a USS Yancey, cargo ship. USS Merrick was a cargo ship. USS Senate was a submarine. The USS Pine Island, a seaplane tender. The USS Bronson was a destroyer. The USS Canisto, something like that, tanker. It was a tanker. Also had the USS Currituck, seaplane tender. USS Henderson was another destroyer. USS Cacapon was a tanker. Also had a carrier with the USS Philippine Sea. They said also it did not deploy into Antarctic waters, but it was used to transport aircraft. The aircraft it had, the RD-4 Douglas C-47 Skytrain or Dakota, so they were modified for cold weather operations or used for the reconnaissance and photography. They had 6 of those. The PBM Mariner, flying boats used for reconnaissance, also in rescue operations. They said there was one notable incident involving a PBM-5 Mariner, which crashed during the operation. So we'll get to that stuff like that. Helicopters, there are helicopter support, some of the ships for reconnaissance, rescue, and transport between ships and ice. Other aircraft or smaller aircraft support roles, and those are really don't say what they had on those. The aircraft carrier USS Philippine Sea was significant because it was carried the AR-4D to the edge of the ice from where they flew to establish Little America 4. It's one of the first times an aircraft carrier were used in such a manner for an Antarctic expedition. The use of seaplanes and flying boats like the PBM Mariner were crucial due to their ability to land on water or ice, making them versatile for the Antarctic environment where traditional runways were scarce. course, they were trying to build them over there at the same time, dozers and such, and just men digging. The operation emphasized testing the capabilities of both men and machinery in extreme cold, which influenced the types and numbers of aircraft chosen, focusing on those that could be adapted or already suitable for cold weather operations. They said the diverse fleet was assembled to not only conduct scientific research, but also to test the feasibilities of operating military forces in polar conditions. Of course, it was very strategic during the onset of the Cold War. They'd be able to use it as a jumping ground, or just being flying around in the USSR at the time. It gets pretty cold up there too, you know. The naval groups were actually broke down in sections, was western, central, and eastern. Of course, like I said, they used all the helicopters and planes to map and everything. The environment, of course, was terrible. Ice and what I was reading, it was daylight there all the time because of where the sun was at the time of year. So like it was 24 hours a day of sunlight. So which had to go make people go crazy on that too. Used to your body having moments of no sunlight. Had been rough. The George 1 seaplane, it actually crashed. We were talking about that earlier. Now for the interesting part, to me, because I like the outside the normal thought process, had many conspiracy theories. I'm thinking of this. Of course, it was Nazis. They thought the Nazis had got down there. They wanted to try to. One of the reasons it was said that they wanted to get down there was to kind of see if and kind of debunk if the myths were true that the Nazis has built a base upon Antarctica, and if that's why they had such a large presence of you had destroyers and aircraft carriers and everything, because they were supposed to go in there and find that secret Nazi base and destroy it. Of course, it was thought the Nazis had developed back re-engineering UFO technology, and it could had made contact with extraterrestrial beings. And so, according to this theory, the Nazis escaped to this base at the end of World War II, and the U.S. forces encountered advanced aircraft or UFOs which could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. And when they encountered an aircraft, that's how they lost ships and planes that made them actually turn around and cut the mission off early. Is a theory on what had happened. So, of course, another popular theory is, of course, that there's an entrance to Hollow Earth in Antarctica. Another popular theory is that Admiral Byrd had encountered the entrance to Hollow Earth during Operation Highjump. And of course, it ties together the myths and legends about Earth. And we just did a podcast on the Hollow Earth theory wasn't very long ago, so you want to check that one out. Yeah, episode 78, we actually have Hollow Earth theory. So if you would like to check that out, we dig a little deeper into that, the concept. So we won't rehash a lot of it on here. Like I said, so you can go check that out if you want to. And we talk about Admiral Byrd and a little bit on that one too. So they kind of tie together, So another conspiracy theory is said, as I kind of spoke on a little bit ago, it was met resistance from an unknown force. Said possibly Nazis with advanced technology or even extraterrestrial forces, leading to an unreported battle in Antarctica. That the notion here is the operation was cut short due to these encounters, which were a cover-up. But they wouldn't cover nothing up. Never. Never, 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 never. Another theory suggests that the operation aimed to recover ancient artifacts or knowledge, possibly the extraterrestrial origin that was hidden in Antarctica. Um, like I said, I think they might have a ancient alien base sitting on Antarctica. That's why you can't. There's only limited space. Like the actual massive of Antarctica is huge. Like if you believe what they say, of course, it is massive, massive. The square mileage of Antarctica, but there's only a little bit of place. You have to get permission to go on there, and there's only a little. Like you can go to this area right here, and that's it. So that stuff out there makes people ask questions and want to know. Like if we sign a treaty or something with some aliens or something, now leave them alone. That we know that they're there or something. There's something to think that. That's why you can't go to other places on Antarctica. Of course, flat earthers, they don't believe none of that. They believe it's the ice wall, and that's why they won't let anybody there. So you can't prove anything except for a few people who got the ability to get there. You just can't book a flight and say, "Hey, I want to go to Antarctica." They won't let you do that. Against the law. General claims that the original reasons for Operation Highjump, training personnel, testing equipment, and cold conditions expanding U.S. sovereignty over Antarctic territory recovers for its true purpose, which remains classified or hidden due to its extraordinary nature. Um, and you think about how long ago this was. It was 1947 when this happened, so it's almost been 100 years. It's creeping 77 years right now. It is creeping on 100 years since all this happened, and we still haven't got it declassified. It makes you wonder, for sure. Admiral Byrd emphasized the military significance of Antarctica due to the strategic location. During and after his expeditions, especially post-World War II and into the early stages of the Cold War, Byrd advocated for the U.S. to maintain and expand its presence in Antarctica. He warned of the potential for hostile forces to use polar regions as bases for operations against the United States or other countries. His operations like Highjump and Deep Freeze were partly aimed at establishing a U.S. presence and testing military capabilities in extreme cold conditions. He also spoke about the need for the U.S. to not fall behind from other nations, particularly pointing out Russian activities in the Arctic and Antarctic, reflecting the geopolitical tensions of the time. From his operations, Byrd gained insight into the logistics of maintaining bases in extreme conditions, which he believed could be crucial for future military strategies, including the potential for intercontinental missile technology, given the shorter flight paths from the poles between the superpowers. Public statements and warnings. It says in various interviews and public statements, Byrd discussed the shrinking world due to technological advancements in aviation, and this has made the poles not just remote ice deserts, but strategically vital locations. His warnings often circle back to the idea that isolationism was no longer a viable defense strategy due to these advanced environments and scientific value. To follow up on Project Highjump's photos, they had Operation Windmill. It was the exploration and training mission intended to follow up on Highjump, occurred from 46 to 47. And said their goals were included the personnel training, equipment testing, and reinforcing America's interest in Antarctica. Said one of the practical tasks was to provide ground control for the aerial photography done during Operation Highjump, making these photographs useful for mapping commands and forces. Said the expedition was commanded by Commander Gerald L. Ketchum, U.S. Navy. Said the Naval Task Force known as Task Force 39, and it was centered around the icebreaker USS Burton Island, which, with another icebreaker, the USS Edisto, was playing a crucial role in the activities. So, which it had like people doing ground surveys to match the aerial photos, make sure everything, what they had on the pictures, was kind of matched, you know. Of course, there was lots of geological sampling and meteorological studies during this time too. They're all over Antarctica trying to, you know, see what they could see. And if you believe the narrative, or the official story, it was pretty important for them to get down there and do all that um, for to do the studies and figure out. Um, but on the other side, if any of the conspiracy theories are true, which lately, conspiracy theories is just um, it's not really a conspiracy theory anymore. It's just news coming out early. That's the way it's been lately. So um, I want to see what y'all kind of think of that. Do you believe that? Do you believe that of any of the conspiracy theories? I mean, they did have to turn back early, um, which was a large ordeal. Like I said, that was a lot of ships, a lot of um, 13 ships, 23 aircraft, and 4,700 men to turn around. And before the end of their supposed to be their tour down there, something had to happen. Um, a lot of people pointed aliens and such, which hey, anything is possible for sure. UFOs, USOs, UAPs. I mean, you see more and more of that every day, which we can talk about that on another podcast, because it's kind of there. It's like they're trying to use, like, something's getting set up, something's coming out of that one though. I don't trust that part, but um, it's anything that's super mainstream or super out there in the open and super, everybody. It just makes me my little uh, conspiracy theory little antenna kind of make them point up and start looking or thinking, because yeah, it's something's going on. Something's going on for sure, but time will tell. Uh, hopefully y'all enjoyed this. I got lots of notes and trying to um, put my notes in order, and I'm still learning on this stuff. So uh, thank good thank good for Notepad on my computer, on my Windows computer, so I can use it to take my notes and kind of I can organize it and try to put it in where it makes halfway sense, that I'm not just rambling along like I am now. Um, but if I don't ramble a little bit, y'all think something's wrong with me, or I'm using AI or something. There's no AI Rickies, not yet, not that I know of. I guess there could be. You never know though. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully y'all like this one. What do y'all think? Please, uh, kind of like Derek and uh, Vice Script Garage, kind of bleep bloop down in the comments. I like when he says that stuff. Just bleep bloop in the comments down below and say what you want to say. Uh, and let me know what you think. Um, I got the little, if you're on the YouTube or the Rumble, get the little subscribe button sitting there saying, hey, don't remind you to subscribe so you can get more of this great content. I'm learning and trying more and more, and I'm steadily, slowly investing more and more into this, and not just time, but money and everything else. So please do me a favor, subscribe and share to help spread the word and help spread the knowledge. And um, as I've said before, if this helps one person, it is worth it. I did I did a podcast the other day, and it made me feel good because it inspired somebody. And I was like, all right, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It just reaffirmed again. Sometimes you got to get that affirmation of, am I still doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And so far so good. So um, you can find me on Troubled Minds Radio Network. I'm syndicated on there. All these shows right here are on it. You might hear one of the newer shows before it even comes out on YouTube. You might. You just got to listen and see. I'm also on Spotify, Rumble, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Apple, all your favorites. If you don't see me there, let me know. I found some the other day I wasn't on, so I bleep blooped on and got on the podcast on those too. So I'm trying to make it where everybody can see it who likes it, whichever way y'all like it. And also for the ones that didn't know, we have on Wednesdays, we have Talking with Conspiracy. So it's a live show where you can call in. Well, you can't call in. We ain't got there yet. You can, not yet. We're working on everything, but where you can actually comment, like on YouTube and Rumble, and comment on and we'll read your comments live. If you got questions or just statements or whatever, we'll read them. We're reading as they go. So I'm going to make sure everybody knew about that. So just to clarify, on Mondays we have our shorts that pop at 6:00 Central every night. Monday night, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central, we should have a new show pop up with one subject and or maybe multiple sometimes. Matters what it is. And then on Wednesday night at 8:30 we'll have the Talking with Conspiracy live show, and trying to help it grow and everything, just the whole channel grow. So just trying to expand and keep on growing and getting better. So just want to make sure you knew about that. On top of everything else with the Troubled Minds Radio Network and Spotify and all the other stuff, we also have a live show. So please check it out. Hope you enjoy. Y'all keep on keeping on, and peace and chicken grease. Y'all be good.